We're going to start by doing, like apparently many people have across the country, doing Olivia Nuzzi. And this is a fascinating story. And I want to say up front, I swear there's a point to it. It's not just me telling you some salacious story. I swear there's a point to all of this. But you probably don't know much of this story. You probably don't follow these sorts of back and forth, inside media stuff all that often. So I want to kind of get you up to speed on the story and who Olivia Nuzzi is. She's a big time reporter, like, one of the big celebrated media reporters on the left. And she had this rocket ship sort of road from unknown to massive success, like this, really like a atmospheric rise that you can't believe, right? It's one of those things where you're like, whoa, this is incredible. Now, she starts off at like 20 years old, and she is working, of course, for the Anthony Weiner campaign. She's working inside the Anthony Weiner campaign when he's running for mayor, okay? Which is, again, not at all shocking when you know the rest of the story. So in 2013, she's working for that mayoral campaign. That campaign's a disaster. He doesn't win. And she writes a piece that winds up going in the New York Daily News that kind of like gives an expose into the background of what was going on in the campaign. And, it's well written. People enjoy it. They're like, wow, this is incredible reporting. And so she turns this one column, this one story, into this massive run of success. Now, when this happens, there is a woman inside of the campaign, communication director for Weiner, Barbara Morgan. She thought she was off the record talking to a Talking Points memo, and she goes on a tirade against Nuzzi, calls her all sorts of derogatory terms, and it's the typical spicy inside media stuff you'd expect from DC, New York, sort of media circles, and now, this is like a year after she's 20 or 21 years old. She turns this one column into a job at the Daily Beast. Now, the Daily Beast's editorial and journalistic standards it's hard to get lower than them. I can't think of a term. I mean, you're certainly below cockroaches as far as quality goes, but they are way down there. They hire her at 21 years old. I mean, this is not how this normally works. You usually have to work at a million really boring jobs before you get a job where you're like profiling candidates and doing all these big things in the media. She just rises up. How? How is she doing this? I mean, her writing is seemingly pretty good, I guess, but like, there's a lot of good writers out there. She's just like rocket ship to the moon here. She's still at Fordham in college while she is doing this, and she gets hired to cover the Rand Paul and Chris Christie campaigns and some of Donald Trump's initial rise in that 2016 campaign cycle. November 2016, she is named one of the 16 breakout media stars of the presidential election by Politico. 2017, she's hired by New York Magazine as their Washington correspondent. And again, that might not sound like all that big of a deal to you. They didn't even have a Washington correspondent. They basically created this high-profile Washington job just for her. She's 24 years old. Pretty amazing run of success here. How did she do this? 2018, she's in the Forbes 30 under 30 list, the 30 biggest rising stars under 30 years old. She had some bumps around the way. She had a little bit of a mini scandal when she was admitted to entering Corey Lewandowski's home without permission to take a photo. He was very upset about that, as you might be, reporters breaking into your home. But that kind of blew over pretty fast. She got, in fact, very quickly after that, actually got invited to the White House for an exclusive interview with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Now, again, she's, I don't know, mid-20s here at this point. Just this incredible rise. She got a job doing a documentary for MSNBC. She portrayed herself on the Showtime show Billions, which is, a big thing for someone in the media. September 2022, she becomes engaged to Politico's chief Washington correspondent, Ryan Lizza. She's a finalist for the National Magazine Award in 2023. Okay, so you get the idea. She's coming, big career. Really fast. And one that is, I will say, that even through like the 2024 election, like she's got big scoops. She had a big one with Rudy Giuliani at one point. She had another big one. Talked to Donald Trump. Trump talked to her relatively regularly. And she was not complimentary to Trump, but would occasionally give some good coverage. And then she did a big profile of RFK Jr. Now, this is when RFK Jr. is still running as, I think, an independent at this point. I can't remember if he was a Democrat or independent. It was before he had the coalition with Donald Trump. Big profile on RFK Jr. And that goes, and you might remember this part of the story because this happened during the campaign cycle, but there's a bit of a report, I believe from Oliver Darcy, who broke the story initially, that after this big profile of RFK Jr. happened, there was a bit of what they called an emotional affair that happened. Now remember, she's engaged to this other reporter, Ryan Lizza. So this all comes out. A New York Magazine correspondent placed on leave for a relationship with RFK Jr. This is obviously, in theory, if you care about journalism, a big no-no. You don't, hook up, have an emotional affair, whatever you want to call it, with a person that you're profiling, right? Like you're a reporter. You're supposed to be doing reporting that is unbiased about your sources. You're not supposed to sleep with them. I mean, I hate to break this to you, boys and girls. If you're looking to get into the journalism industry, you're not supposed to do that. Though maybe it is a path towards success in that realm, as we learn. New York Magazine placed its Washington political correspondent Olivia Nuzzi on leave Thursday evening for engaging in a personal relationship with former presidential hopeful RFK Jr. that was a violation of the magazine's standards around conflicts and interest and disclosures. Media reporter Oliver Darcy first reported on the leave Thursday, and while New York Magazine did not name Kennedy, RFK Jr., Darcy identified him as the politician involved. Now, this obviously becomes a big scandal in their world, right? She is in real trouble. She winds up, Ryan Lizza's like, okay, see you later. They wind up breaking up, and she's out. They have a big public battle. She files a protective order against him because she thinks he's going to release all this information about her. She fears he's leaking stuff. This is how they operate, of course. They're just using the tactics that each other use on each other. That protective order went away. There was a time where they were trading these protective orders, and then of course New York Magazine and Nuzzi part ways. Now she kind of after this sort of disappears, right? She goes away, not making any news, not really doing anything. We don't know what she was doing. We know that Ryan Lizza believed that they were trying to keep everything quiet, right? Like you go into a quiet period after something like this. Apparently, there was some negotiation about a non-disclosure, right, where they wouldn't, neither side would talk about that. I don't know how that got wrapped up. Also, there was apparently a message passed between some mutual friend that Olivia is saying, "I'm never going to talk about this again. I hope you never talk about it again." All right, like that's a screwed up world, but I guess that's the best way you can handle it after all that stuff happens, right? So she goes away. She's away for a year. We think is silent. What is she actually doing? Well, she's writing a tell-all, right? Of course, she's writing a book. She's in California writing a book. It's called American Canto? I don't even know. I mean, she's a writer. I'm not. Olivia Nuzzi, the book is out. The cover looks like it's made on MS Paint, but at least create a cover with AI. I mean, at least go the full distance. But it's just the red and the black, very fancy. This is the classy world. It's a classy world we're not allowed to go into. We're told by the media we're not good enough to go into that world, and you know what? We're probably not. We're at least not. We're not. Whatever we are, we shouldn't be in that world. Might be our choice, might be their choice, but it might be both. We might have actual agreement on this. We probably don't want to be in that world. She writes this book. It comes out in a couple of weeks. And you'd think a person who did this, I mean, remember, this is a woman who, it seems like the emotional affair went pretty far. There were photos sent. There were exchanges of adoration from each side, blah, 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 blah. You get how that happens. So this was not like no one's really disagreeing with this. I mean, I don't think RFK Jr. has even come out and really sincerely pushed back on this. Now, of course, RFK Jr., also married, not that this has ever stopped him at any point in his entire life, but he was apparently going down that road pretty far, as well as he has with dozens, if not hundreds, of different women. It's not I mean, he's a Kennedy. So we shouldn't be shocked, though we can be critical of the way he behaves. I know you might like his position on food coloring, but I'm sorry, he seems to be a dirtbag. And has been for his entire life. Okay? That's a whole nother story. Whole nother monologue. I mean, part of the reason I'm telling you this story is because I just love the people involved. They're all my favorite people. But, so Olivia Nuzzi, how does she get treated by this? She's blown up the world of journalism. She slept with a source, or at least was close to sleeping with a source. We have no idea how far that went. But, okay, how does she get treated? She gets ejected by the world of journalism, right? They can't stand her. No, of course, she gets a big profile in the New York Times. Nuzzi did it all for love. Can you imagine if you did this crap, how they would present this information about you? Now, maybe you're not a glamorous woman like Olivia Nuzzi is, but I promise you this would not be how you were portrayed if you went through this. Now, there's more to this, and I promise you there's a point to this. It's not just me telling you this story. I promise. Just because some of my favorite people in the world are involved, it's not just that. Now, this is what the New York Times write. You could argue that referring to Kennedy and other players in the book by monikers like the politician, she doesn't actually name RFK Jr., she just calls him the politician, is literary. It also allows her to construct a world where everyone is a sketch and proof is besides the point. Wow. Nuzzi makes clear in the book that she realizes there are people who will disagree with her version of events. She does not try to prove them. That's quite an amazing. Can I do that too? I'm not going to try to prove to you anymore. I'm not going to give you quotes from government documents when I try to say things. I'll just change the name slightly and just say crap. That sounds great. Now, she, of course, is a big political reporter. She was asked about her position of politics. This is while the Mamdani election is in the middle of it. And this is kind of a good reflection of who she is. She says, in the New York mayoral returns came in, she sat at Mel's Drive-In in Santa Monica. She was focused on the current mayor. Someone has got to be covering Eric Adams tonight, she said. What better way to memorialize Zohran Mamdani's win than to capture it through the eyes of the evening's ultimate loser, its incumbent mayor? I made a joke, this is the reporter saying, I made a joke about how Adams had seemingly thrown away his life just to fly business class. Nuzzi shrugged. I destroyed mine for less, she said. First of all, not exactly complimentary to RFK Jr. I mean, geez, not even business class. But I digress. So all this is going on. She blows up her life and her relationship and her career over the relationship over text with RFK Jr. Then comes back with this big book. And her ex-fiance, who thought, hey, we've got an agreement to not be talking, at least according to him, he's not that happy. Here they are together, the glamorous Nuzzi and Ryan Lizza, running in their big-time political circles. He decides to write something. This comes out yesterday. It is on his Substack. Telos News is what it's called. It's called Part 1, by the way, indicating there might be more parts. Part 1, How I Found Out. Now, this is fascinating. How did he find out about his fiancée cheating with RFK Jr. in some way? On Monday, Nuzzi's ex-fiancé, fellow journalist Ryan Lizza, 51, claimed in a Substack post that Kennedy was not her first fling born of journalistic pursuits while they were in a relationship. Titled Part 1, How I Found Out, Lizza's post recounts how he stumbled upon a love letter from Nuzzi to a famous politician, 32 years older than Olivia and well-known for a sex scandal, who's also a presidential candidate, a source, and the subject of Olivia's recent profile for New York. I want to read to you some of the stuff that he found as he was going over this to find this information out. She comes back from a trip. He finds some napkins, some little napkins, cocktail napkins from a hotel. Starts reading them. A love letter is on there. This is in the love letter. It says things like this. If I swallowed every drop of water from the tower above your house, I would still thirst for you. Most of her writing is actually pretty good. Maybe that's not the best example. Now, he writes, unfortunately, the lack of a water tower on our Georgetown home's roof ruled me out as the note's intended recipient. I flipped to another page and saw a name and a first line of an unfinished love letter that had him, that included enough details to confirm a physical relationship and the hint of some kind of falling out. My heart stopped when I realized who it was. Famous politician, 32 years older than Olivia, well known for a sex scandal, but more importantly, he was a presidential candidate, a source, and the subject of Olivia's recent profile from New York. The last line is what's causing lots of buzz, because you're like, okay, RFK Jr., right? I called my agent. We have a big problem, I said. Olivia is sleeping with Mark Sanford. Mark Sanford, the old South Carolina governor, the Republican governor of South Carolina. Wait, what? Yes, apparently, this is like a thing for her. She does a profile of a presidential candidate and then winds up hooking up with him. That is at least the allegation here, of course. Liza dates his discovery to Nuzzi's affair with Sanford, 65, who served in Congress until 2019. You remember he was governor, then ran for Congress, and then ran for president. He suspended his campaign in November. The date they find this back to is March 2020. Liza writes, she later explained to me that she became infatuated with him after their interview. She couldn't get him out of her head, and that as obsession intensified, she sent him increasingly risque pictures and texts, secretly followed him on the campaign trail when she told me she was out covering other candidates, and fantasized about a rendezvous, which was consummated at his home in South Carolina one night after she went dark on me and made up a story about how she was dealing with a crisis concerning her sick mother. So she's out there, she falls in love with this candidate, I guess, and he's obsessed with him, follows him around, wants to hook up with this old white dude. Now remember, Sanford, to his utter shame, at this point is running a candidate for president where he's like the upstanding guy as opposed to Donald Trump, who's bad, right? Like that was his shtick at the time. And he was like, I've recovered from all of my previous exploits. You'll remember he was on the Appalachian Trail when having a previous affair. Unbelievable. So here's the tweet from back in the day, 2019, when Olivia Nuzzi did wind up profiling Mark Sanford. I spent some time in South Carolina with Mark Sanford for New York Magazine, and they showed the pictures of Mark Sanford. Someone commented underneath, a guy named Sam Sanders says, hey, he looks, I don't know, happy. Olivia Nuzzi replies, I tend to have that effect. I bet you do. I bet you do. Wow, is that incredible? Okay, and it gets more incredible than that, because in the piece as well, there are new details about Olivia Nuzzi's previous relationship with another one of my favorite people in the entire world, Keith Olbermann. Unbelievable. Keith Olbermann suggests he dodged a bullet as he gloats over ex-girlfriend Olivia Nuzzi's latest scandals. And he posted, in the most boomer way possible, the gif of The Matrix, where he is, dodging bullets. And he writes above it, this is me. Like, no, you're just supposed to post the gif, right? Like, you're not supposed to, this is me. Let me explain my joke to you. Anyway, so pathetic. The meme equally reflected his attempts at dodging the latest claims about his own time with the much younger writer. Liza alleged Olbermann had acted as her sugar daddy by paying for her college tuition, fitting her out in Tom Ford and Hervé Leger. See, I don't belong in these circles. I don't even know how to pronounce the designer's name, but fancy dresses and $15,000 Cartier jewelry. While Keith, who was 34 years older, he was 55, she was 21 at the time, was generous. There were strings attached, Liza wrote. Olivia had concealed the relationship from me and other friends, but one day she told me everything. Too much, actually. What does that mean? And together we hatched a plan for her escape. Interesting phrasing there. By the way, Keith Olbermann did reply to this, not to all of it, but he said, by the way, about this, from Liza's reply, Olivia and I lived together for 4 years. It's 4 birthdays, 4 Christmases, 4 anniversaries. That's like $1,250 of jewelry per celebration. And her apartment was a writing studio. And I made an F-ton then. This guy's the worst guy in the world. What was I supposed to do? Get her a lot of gift certificates from Kmart? So he's saying, okay, that's not that much money. Apparently he was cheap, too, by his own telling. I don't know. Now, what's interesting, just to trace this timeline back quickly, and I don't know, maybe this is what part 2 is about. I'll be fascinated to hear. But she's now 32 years old. He's writing this. In the writing, Liza says it was a lost decade with her. That brings her back to 22 years old, approximately, if that number is accurate. 22 years old. And then Keith is saying they were together for 4 years. All right, 32 minus 10, 22 minus 4, 18. I mean, that's, as far as I know, not illegal, but it's button up on the line there, Keithy. I wonder how that's interesting. Barely legal, apparently very important to Keith Olbermann. By the way, this goes on to say a little bit about this. And listen to this. Not long ago, I had helped her, again, so she's 22, not long ago, so maybe 21, maybe 17 to 21. I hope it's 21 to 25. I want the best for Keith, of course. I had helped her untangle herself from an unusual relationship with Keith Olbermann. Goes on to detail all the jewelry and all of that. But says Keith, who was 34 years older, was generous, but there were strings attached. Olivia had concealed the relationship. We planned her escape, as I mentioned earlier. When friends asked why I never responded to Keith's public attacks on me and Olivia, I explained that she had felt stalked by Keith after she left him. I hope that's part 2. I really want to know more about that. Ryan, I mean, look, you're already in the middle of this. You might as well get some dirt out on Keith Olbermann. Please give us more. By the way, remember, this is a woman who we now know has slept with multiple people in the media and multiple people she profiled as a reporter. I kid you not, this is a real tweet. What I'm about to show you is a real tweet. This is real. I'm not kidding. I remember reading the story when she wrote it in New York Magazine. Why does Hollywood think female reporters sleep with their sources? And a picture of the woman from House of Cards who slept with Kevin Spacey in that series, basically saying, like, I can't believe Hollywood would say that about female reporters. We won't do such a thing. Now, I promise you, by the way, how does she get rewarded for all this behavior? How did she get rewarded for it? Of course, she's going to make a lot of money on books, and probably a movie too, about all of this. But her journalism was rewarded with a new West Coast editor job for Vanity Fair in September 2025. The least. So I said there's a point. Is there a point to all this? Yes. First of all, my question is, should we have a presidential litmus test? Should the first question of every debate be, did you sleep or do you intend to sleep with Olivia Nuzzi? I would like that to be the start. But, the point of this is the people that call you a racist, the people who call you a sexist, the people who call you homophobic, the people who tell you that you're killing your grandma because you decided to go outdoors at a park with a mask off, the people who call you selfish because you don't want to spend your money on transgender surgeries for illegal immigrants, those people are the worst people in the universe. They are all out there doing this crap while they're preaching to you. That's the world you live in right now. They're judging you all the time. Those people that I just described are the ones telling you you're a bad person. I want you to remember that next time you read their judgment in the media. Remember all of these fabulous stories, and I, for one, cannot wait for part 2.